All right, let's dive into something most of us overlook when we're desperate for rest. The language our body is always speaking to us. You know how sometimes you're exhausted, you lie down, ready for sleep, but suddenly your mind is wide awake, racing through worries or plans? Or those mornings you wake up feeling tired despite getting enough hours of sleep? Your body isn't broken, it's just trying to communicate. And in our fast-paced, always connected lives, we've gotten pretty good at ignoring or even silencing what our bodies have to say. We treat tiredness with caffeine, stress with scrolling, discomfort with distraction. But every symptom, every feeling, every sleepless night is a message, an invitation to pay attention, to pause and listen. Sleep isn't just something you do at night. It's a reflection of your whole day, your lifestyle, your inner world. So, instead of fighting your insomnia or blaming your restless nights on external factors alone, what if we began to listen? What if we treated these messages as guides rather than obstacles? Because your body never lies. It tells you exactly what you need if you're willing to listen. It might be whispering softly at first, but if you don't pay attention, it gets louder, showing up as insomnia, anxiety, fatigue, even physical pain. But here's the good news. You can learn to understand this language. You can learn to decode your body's signals, creating a dialogue that leads not just to better sleep, but to deeper healing overall. So let's start there. Let's begin by gently turning inward, acknowledging that our bodies aren't working against us. They're working for us, desperately trying to help us rest, heal, and thrive. And that starts by tuning in, by learning to trust the language of your own body again. It's funny how we rely on our phones to alert us about everything, our appointments, our messages, even when it's time to drink water. And yet when our bodies try to give us their own alerts, we mute them. That back tension? Maybe it's not just poor posture. Maybe it's stress you haven't processed. That jaw clenching? Maybe you've been holding your words in too long. That restlessness at night? Maybe it's not just too much caffeine. Maybe it's your system still running from a day that never slowed down. Learning to listen doesn't mean becoming obsessed with every ache or twitch. It means becoming curious. It means asking your body questions instead of criticizing it. It means honoring the signals instead of overriding them. Because the truth is, your body is always honest, even when your mind is spinning stories that aren't. And when it comes to sleep, your body is often trying to tell you something long before you hit the pillow. Maybe it's that you've been holding in emotions, and your mind uses the quiet of night to finally process them. Maybe it's that your nervous system has been running on high alert all day, and it doesn't know how to downshift. Maybe it's that you've been ignoring your need for boundaries, and that boundaryless life shows up as restless nights. Whatever it is, the root is never just about the night. It's about the day. So I want to invite you not to force your way into sleep, but to soften into awareness. What's your body asking for? Is it asking for movement, for stillness, for nourishment, for breath? Is it asking for a conversation you've been avoiding, a feeling you haven't made space for, a truth you haven't said out loud yet? This is where sleep begins, not in the bedroom, but in the body, in the story it's trying to tell. You don't have to get it all at once. You don't have to interpret every signal perfectly, but you do have to be willing to listen. That's where it starts. That's where healing begins. That's where rest finds its way back home. And we'll keep building on this. But for now, just take a breath. Just pause Just ask your body, what are you trying to tell me? And trust that whatever the answer is, it matters. So now that we've opened the door and started to hear the subtle ways our bodies try to communicate, let's talk about what it means to actually respond. Listening is powerful, but it's only the beginning. The transformation happens when we start shifting how we treat ourselves based on what we hear. Because once you realize your body has been sending you signals all along, those headaches, that afternoon slump, the tension in your neck, the restlessness in your legs, you start to understand that these aren't random. They're road signs. And the question becomes, will you follow them or will you keep speeding past? And look, I get it. It's not always convenient to slow down and ask, what's going on with me right now? Especially when life feels like a moving train and you've got deadlines, people to care for, a to-do list that never ends. But here's what I want you to know. Honoring your body doesn't require massive changes overnight. It requires micro-honesty. It requires checking in, even if it's just for 10 seconds, and asking yourself, what do I need right now that I've been ignoring? Maybe it's water. Maybe it's movement. Maybe it's 5 minutes with your eyes closed. Maybe it's a good cry. Maybe it's food that actually fuels you instead of numbing you. Maybe it's calling a friend instead of scrolling through your feed. These acts, they seem small, but they're acts of rebellion in a culture that trains us to push through everything. When you respond to your body's cues with care instead of dismissal, you send it a powerful message. I'm on your side. I'm listening. You're safe. And over time, that relationship deepens. Your body starts to trust you. It doesn't have to scream as loudly anymore. You start feeling sleepy when it's time to rest. You start waking up with more energy. You stop numbing out and start tuning in. That's the kind of recalibration we're after here. Not perfection, not some fantasy of always feeling great, but a lived reality where you're not constantly battling your own needs. Now let's go deeper, because there's a reason a lot of us stop listening to our bodies in the first place. At some point, it felt safer not to. Maybe your feelings weren't welcomed growing up, so you learned to suppress them. Maybe your pain was minimized or ignored, so you learned to power through. Maybe rest was treated as laziness, so you learned to equate self-worth with busyness. Whatever the origin, those patterns don't dissolve just because you want them to. They shift slowly, with compassion, with presence, with practice. And one of the most healing things you can do is to start treating your body like a friend. You don't have to love every part of it right away. You don't even have to feel comfortable in it all the time. But you can begin to offer it the same kindness you'd offer someone you care about. And that shows up in how you talk to yourself. Are you speaking words of judgment or of care? When you can't sleep, do you berate yourself, or do you breathe deeper and say, it's okay, I'm here with you? When you're tired, do you push harder, or do you soften your pace? These moments matter. They're the bricks that build trust. And sleep, real, natural, healing sleep, is built on trust. Trust that your body is not your enemy. Trust that rest is not earned through suffering. Trust that you can meet yourself right where you are and still be enough. So here's your invitation. Pick one part of your day where you normally ignore your body. Maybe mid-morning, maybe after lunch, maybe right before bed. And create a pause. Just a minute or two to check in, to scan your body, to ask what's happening in me right now, and what would support me. That one pause can become a sacred habit, a moment that breaks the autopilot, A moment that helps you remember that your body isn't a machine, it's a messenger, and that you're allowed to listen, that you're allowed to change course, that you're allowed to rest. In the next section, we'll explore specific ways your body speaks and how to better interpret those signals when it comes to sleep. But for now, just start here, in the noticing, in the honoring, in the subtle and steady return to yourself. All right, now let's get even more specific. Let's talk about the ways your body actually speaks, because these signals aren't random, and once you learn to recognize them, it's like learning a new language, one that's been inside you all along. And this language isn't just about aches and pains, it's about patterns, about rhythms, about subtle cues that tell you what your body needs before things spiral into exhaustion or insomnia. So let's start with fatigue. Not all tiredness is the same. There's physical fatigue, the kind that comes from movement, from exertion, from simply using your body. But then there's mental fatigue, the fog, the inability to focus, the forgetfulness that comes from overstimulation, from too much decision-making, from being on all day. And then there's emotional fatigue, the heaviness you carry when you've been holding in stress, people-pleasing, worrying about others, not speaking your truth. They all show up differently. Physical fatigue might feel like heaviness in your limbs. Mental fatigue might feel like zoning out or irritability. Emotional fatigue might feel like tension in your chest, a lump in your throat, a subtle desire to cry but you don't know why. These aren't weaknesses. These are cues. Then there's overstimulation. Your body tells you when it's had enough input, too many lights, too much noise, too much screen time. You might get headaches, jaw tension, restlessness, trouble falling asleep. That's your nervous system saying, hey, I need some quiet. I need a break. But often we override that with more distraction, more stimulation, trying to push through until we crash. And let's not forget the signals of blood sugar crashes, shakiness, anxiety, irritability, which we sometimes mislabel as moodiness or stress, when really, we just haven't eaten enough, or eaten something that didn't support us. Your body is a finely tuned instrument, and when it's out of tune, it doesn't need to be punished. It needs to be retuned, gently, with curiosity. Now let's bring this back to sleep. Insomnia is rarely just about sleep. It's about unresolved activation in the body. Think of it like your system has tabs open, just like your browser. Things you didn't process during the day, a conversation that upset you, a task left undone, a feeling you didn't have time to feel. They stay open. And at night, when everything else quiets down, those tabs become louder. That's why journaling, breathwork, body scans, all those wind-down tools can be so powerful. Not because they're magical, but because they give your body a chance to process and close some of those open loops. They say, you're safe, we're not in danger. It's okay to let go. And it's not just about what you do at night. Your whole day is either winding your body up or helping it settle. Did you move your body today? Did you get any natural light? Did you eat food that gave you steady energy? Did you have even one moment of pause to check in with yourself? All of that matters. Sleep is not an isolated event. It's the result of 1,000 little choices, little rhythms, little moments of connection or disconnection throughout your day. And when you begin to pay attention, you start seeing the patterns. You start noticing, oh, every time I skip lunch, I'm more wired at night. Or every time I scroll late, I wake up feeling fried. That's data. That's language. That's your body talking. So I want you to become a bit of a detective this week. Not in a judgmental way, not in a perfectionist way, in a curious way. Track how your body feels. What energizes you, what depletes you. What helps you soften at the end of the day, what keeps you buzzing into the night. You don't have to fix it all right away. You just have to notice. Because noticing is how we change. Noticing is how we reclaim agency. Noticing is how we start to create a life that doesn't just look good on the outside, but actually feels good on the inside. And that's what we're after here. Not perfect sleep, not rigid routines, but deep, sustainable rest that starts with understanding your body's voice. In the next part, we're going to bring it all together. We're going to talk about creating rituals and rhythms that support this body-led approach to sleep. But for now, keep listening, keep noticing. Your body's talking, and you're doing a beautiful job of learning how to hear it. Here we are, the last stretch of this conversation, and I just want to pause for a second and remind you of something simple but powerful. This journey you're on, learning to listen to your body, to honor it, to trust it, it matters. And not just because it helps you sleep better, although it probably will, but because it helps you come back home to yourself. We spend so much of our lives being told what to do, how to feel, how to fix ourselves, how to fit into a world that often rewards disconnection over presence. But your body, your sacred, brilliant, beautiful body, has always been trying to bring you back. It doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. It needs you to listen with patience instead of pressure. And that's what this whole practice is about. So in this final part, I want to get really practical and really gentle about what it looks like to create daily rituals and rhythms that support this kind of body-led sleep. Not routines that you force, not checklists that add more stress, but supportive anchors that help your nervous system feel safe enough to let go. Think of your day like a wave. It rises, it crests, it falls. Your body craves rhythm. It's built on rhythm. Heartbeats, breathing, hormonal cycles, temperature fluctuations, they all rise and fall. So when your day is chaotic and unpredictable, your body doesn't know when to rest. That's why simple rhythms make such a difference. Waking up around the same time each day, getting light into your eyes within the first hour of waking, eating meals at regular intervals, moving your body in ways that feel good, and winding down slowly in the evening, not dropping from high speed into a crash. This isn't about perfection. This is about consistency. And your body loves consistency. It helps your nervous system feel safe. And safety is the gateway to sleep. One of my favorite rituals is what I call a transition ritual. A simple act that helps your body know it's time to shift gears. It could be dimming the lights, lighting a candle, washing your face with intention, turning calming music, or writing down 3 thoughts that are still lingering in your mind. This isn't about performance. It's about signaling. You're telling your body, hey, we're done doing for the day. It's okay to just be now. And over time, that signal becomes stronger. Your system starts to respond faster. It begins to associate those cues with safety, with softness, with surrender. And that's when sleep becomes not a battle, but a natural progression. And look, some nights will still be hard. Some days will still throw you off. That's okay. This is a relationship, not a rule book. Some of the most healing moments come not when everything goes right, but when things go wrong and you choose to respond with compassion instead of criticism. When you can't sleep and you say, it's all right, I'm still here for myself. When you wake up tired and instead of pushing through, you ask, what would support me right now? That's the shift. That's the practice. That's where real rest begins. So as we wrap this up, I want you to remember this. You are not broken if you're tired. You are not weak if your body is asking for more rest than the world wants to give. You are not failing because you're learning how to listen again. You're growing. You're healing. You're rebuilding trust with the most important relationship you'll ever have. The one with your own body. And that trust, once it begins to take root, changes everything. If this episode helped you reconnect with even one part of yourself, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Daily Health Shift. Every week, we meet in this space to remind each other that healing doesn't have to be hard, that rest doesn't have to be earned, and that you are already enough. And if you know someone who's been struggling with sleep, with stress, with feeling disconnected from their body, maybe send this to them, not as advice, but as a whisper that says, you're not alone, and your body is speaking, and you can learn how to listen. You're doing better than you think. Keep listening, keep softening, keep coming home to yourself. Sleep will meet you there.